Hey everyone, it's Leanne. Welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I'm experimenting with my new Cricut, and I did end up making this card, so I'm just going to go through the process of how I made this card and kind of my trials through it. So this is my new Cricut Explore Air 2. It's in this beautiful peach color. I think it's called Flamingo. And so I'm going to use the Flora and Fauna stamp set with this card, Unicorn Magic. It's really cute. And so here's a look at the Cricut, and I just love how the doors open, they glide open, they're just, oh, this machine is so lovely. I was so excited to get this. So I'm going to start in Illustrator. This is Adobe Illustrator, and I want to do a window card, and I thought a really fun die cut on those hearts would be really unique and neat to do. So I just created a circle of hearts in a row, just a mix of large hearts and smaller hearts. Right now I'm creating the outside edge of where I want the cut lines to be. I want to have them a little bit offset from the actual printed line. I'm going to get my Cricut to draw that line, but I want to make sure that it doesn't cut just on the line. It leaves a little bit of a buffer. So this is the part of the card that I want to have peeking out the top. So I want to have that top part of the heart cut out just to the edge of the card. And then when the card's folded, that edges of the heart will peek out over the top of the card. So this will probably make more sense when we get closer to the cutting stage. So I'm just using the strokes of the heart to just fudge everything a bit and get it right into place, get some good spacing on the cut lines. And so when you bring this into the Cricut Studio, you can define if it is a cut line or if it is a line that you're going to draw or print. And so these will be my cut lines. I'm going to make them red just so that they stand out a little bit from the artwork part. So now I want to do the inside here. So I'm going to use all of the center parts of that heart to create that window space, and I want to do the same thing in this area too. So I want to create a die cut area or a die cut line that's just offset from the printed line, so it leaves a little bit of a buffer, a little bit of a margin when it cuts that window. And this will be really unique too because it's such a difficult shape, and so I'm really excited that I can create this custom image and get this custom cut with this. Now, the other thing about Cricut is it's preferred to use SVG files. You can use a number of file types. You can use PNGs or JPEGs. There's a bunch of them. But SVGs are vector-based, so they're all math. So they're not pixels, they're actually calculations of anchor points and curves, and so you get a very precise line when you upload your file. So that's what I like to work with here, and SVGs are really light too, because they're all math-based, and so this will be really great for uploading, and I can save this for another project down the road if I like. So now I'm just working out sizing, and this is still new to me. This is the first project I've done on my Cricut, so I'm really thinking about the process of what layers I need, what I need to upload, and how it needs to be separated. So this is the Cricut Design Studio. I'm just uploading my image, and it comes in, and so it's a little bit wonky there. I've got a background hidden that I didn't realize. And so I uploaded it, but then realized that I had this mess, so I had to go back and change that file. I did want to make sure that I had some sort of bounding area on my SVG so that I knew that this card would come out exactly the same size. It's sort of tricky when you upload to the Design Studio. It'll make your image a different size than you intend. It really has to do with the DPI or the resolution that you set, and what your file comes in as, how it calculates it or translates it. And so when you're in the design space, you can change the size of your image. There are some pull-down menus at the top. There's a ruler guide along the edges. And so I can get a very precise size, and I want this to be an A2 size card because I have envelopes and I want it to fit into those. So I brought in sort of a template, and then I'm also bringing in an extra square just to use as my guide, and I'm going to put the exact calculations on that and then try to match this up. So this is a little cumbersome, and there are better ways. I know how I could do this now, but this is sort of how I kind of stumbled through my very first project and made it work. So I was excited that when I was done all this, it actually did work. But I learned a little bit along the way too. So you can see that everything is just coming together, and that red area, I'm just going to put that to the back because it's going to use or serve as my base here, just basically for lining up what I'm doing. So I've just changed the color on that, and I will remove it before I print. So now I'm just looking at all of my pieces. You can expand the layers in Design Space, and you can see what each element is broken down as and if they're separate or not. And then you can change what they do. You can change the properties of them. So my Cricut came with a little marker, and so I'm going to use that to draw the actual art. So here's a look at it drawing that art right now. And so it has the little marker on the left side of the mechanism. And so you can see that it's drawing the line, it's a little bit thicker. And so what it's doing to compensate for that thicker line is it's drawing it twice. It's drawing a double stroke. And so if you look, you can see a little bit of space between those strokes. And so I know I can clean that up. It's not the best way to do it, but I did want to try using the marker because I haven't done that before. So I just wanted to test it and see how it came out. So I did a test piece first on just standard printer paper. Normally they recommend that you pull the mat away from your work. Instead of pulling your work away from the mat, you can see my paper curls, and that's the result. But this is just a test piece. And it also didn't cut my paper on the plain paper setting. So I just wanted to test that. And now I'm ready to move on to the cardstock. I'm going to change my setting, my cut setting, to cardstock as well. So I'm just moving that over to cardstock, loading the pen that it comes with, the little marker, locking that down into the print head, and clicking the Cricut button. So here it goes, and it's going to draw this first, and then it's going to print or cut it out. Now what I could also do as an alternative is I could do a print and cut instead of a draw and cut. And so I could send the artwork to my printer and have it print a lot more clean and crisp and then feed it through my Cricut. That's also an option. I just, as I mentioned, wanted to try the marker and see how it worked, especially with COPICs. I was really excited to see how this came out. So I was a little disappointed here, and if you have a Cricut machine, you probably can see right away what's wrong. I didn't realize at the time. So you can see that my line is offset from my print. And that's a case of the print heads not being aligned or the cut heads not being aligned. If you're in the design studio, you can go into the settings and you can do some tests to realign your cut and print heads. And so I did eventually do that, but I decided to just keep going with this project and see where it took me, using it as kind of a trial and error, and I really wanted to get to the end result. And so I'm just going to trim up or clean up the edges. There are some extra bits of paper around those cut lines, and of course it's cardstock, so it probably went through it twice, I believe, just to get a deeper cut. And I probably could have tried a little bit of a harder setting pressure wise. I could have put it one more over on the cardstock. These are actually my spirit horses that sit on my desk. Anyways, so yes, I could have changed the pressure sensitivity to a little bit more on the dial and probably got a little bit of a crisper cut on that. But it did cut what I needed, so that did work. I'm going to use my Martha Stewart paper folder here, and so I just want to score the top part to the edges where those top parts of the heart are cut, because I want those to peek out. So you can see here, this is what I meant at the beginning, that when this is folded, I do want the top parts of the heart to cut and be popping over the edge. So I had to be careful when I scored it that I only scored it on the negative spaces. And so that came out good, and I'm really happy so far outside of the misaligned cut, but I'm going to keep going. I also have a little bit of a lip on the bottom part of the edge, so I'm going to use that to my advantage as well. That might have been a miscalculation on my part when I was making the top part of the heart stick out over the card. So now I'm coming in with a micron pen and just cleaning up that gap in the line. So when it was drawing that thicker line, it did a double stroke, but it does have some gaps in the middle. So the Micron is a waterproof pen, so I'm able to easily clean up those edges. So I'm just trimming the edges of the card here to make them nice and crisp. They were a little bit misaligned when I folded them. And so just getting them nice and even there. So I'm ready to do my stamping. I'm coming in with the unicorn. So I'm going to use this little guy here. It's really cute. I just love flora and fauna. I'm sure if you've seen other videos, you've heard me talk about flora and fauna. Their stamps are adorable. So I'm going to use Memento Tuxedo Black ink for the stamping as well, because I do want to completely Copic color this. And so that stamp ink works well with those colors, or with those markers. Now another thing I do want to mention, I did this on regular Staples brand cardstock, and of what I have, that's probably like this, the runner-up for cardstock for coloring with Copic markers. You could also use Nina Solar White cardstock, and I normally use that for stamping. But I wanted to do the whole card, and this was kind of a test, so I decided to use my Staples paper, and so it does turn out really well. Now I put a little decoration from the stamp set in the top of the window. And so now I have this little flower, and I want to kind of dress up the inside because the art that's going on the front is kind of serving as the art on the inside of the card as well. So I'm going to have a little bit of a surprise when you open it up with the flowers all around the edges. So there's a look there at the inside. So now I'm ready to do my COPIC coloring. This is quite a long video, so there won't be too much of the COPIC coloring, but I'll go over just kind of show the gist of what I've done and some of the colors that I add. And again, I will put the colors in the description below, so you can check those out if you're curious about any of them. So just doing some light coloring on this. I want to keep it really light and whimsical and fun, sort of unicorn colors, very pastel-y. And so just doing some backgrounds here just to put some decoration behind that window area, and then have it decorate the base of the card too. I'm kind of getting a 2-for-1 with this deal because I am decorating the inside and the outside, and it's working at the same time. So it's awesome. It's working out well. So just small details with this stamp. There's not a lot of room to color too much, so just dropping in light bits of color, hardly any shading. My shading, I honestly used a mint green and the pink for the highlights, so nothing too intense, but it still turned out pretty good. The hearts I'm doing very simple too. I'm doing a light color on the top and then shading up from the bottom point of the heart, and just very simple, not anything too technical. So these were really fun to do as well, and fun just to pick out this color palette. They're just very spring and bright, and where I'm from right now we have a ton of snow and ice rain, and it's really depressing, and so it's really nice to look at these very bright spring colors and think of the next season that hopefully will be here before too long. We have a groundhog that saw his shadow, so I'm hoping that spring comes soon. So now I'm using the colors from the hearts onto those flowers on the inside just to match them up, keep those colors simple and the color palette the same. With that overhang that I had at the bottom, I'm just going to take my mint green from my unicorn and draw that bottom edge. Creates a nice grounding element, a nice grounding graphic. And then as a final touch, I'm coming in with a Wink of Stella brush pen in clear glitter and just glamming up this entire card. I put glitter on all of the hearts and glitter on the unicorn as well, of course, and glitter across the bottom just to have it all across the top or all across the front, just anywhere it could fit. I love glitter. So here you can see it shimmering in the light. It's so pretty, so pretty. And so here's my finished card. It turned out pretty good. I was pretty happy with it. I learned a lot of stuff along the way with my Cricut, and since then I've been cutting out stickers, doing kiss cuts and die cuts, and it's an awesome machine. I've had a lot of fun so far and still lots to do. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you're notified as I post more videos to my channel. Thanks so much for watching.